What's good, YouTube? We got another Mr. Sentai video. Alright, so look, this how we finna do it. It's creating every 2023 champion that'll be. I don't know why I'm stuttering. I'm kinda no man. No. Hold on, let's add play real quick. Alright, so look. When he graded, I'm gonna give y'all my grade, my input on it. So let's get into the video.
Every single WWE superstar that held a championship in 2023. We're going to look at these champions and we're going to grade their performance throughout the year as a champion, and we're going to grade them from A+ all the way down to F.
I bet.
In a year where there weren't that many championship changes with some of the top titles, in some cases no changes at all, I think you're going to be surprised and maybe even shocked as to how many people actually held championships in the WWE.
It was a lot this year.
The main roster in NXT throughout 2023. Hey, as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring the bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I know you're going to fall in love with this channel because we upload daily wrestling content. All right, let's jump into it. All right, so we're going to start off with the Tribal Chief Roman Reigns, who is the WWE.
For Roman, I'm going to give him a B or a C. Only because, look, he barely defend his title. He barely come to the events and stuff. He barely defend. And the times he do defend, he either need help from Usos or Solo Sikoa. So that's why I'm ranking Roman at C or B minus.
Undisputed Universal Champion for the entirety of 2023.
But I ain't gonna lie, the times he do defend it, it's 5-star matches. So I gotta give him a B. Cause they do put on the performance and the promos be hitting every single time. They don't miss on the promos or the build-ups.
In the entirety of 2022 and the year before that, you get the idea. This man has been champion for a good amount of time. However, his performance in 2023 does leave a lot to be desired because he became a part-time performer after WrestleMania, where he would only show up every couple of PLEs and he would take some very long extended breaks, which created a lot of frustration with wrestling fans. And it's a shame because whenever he does show up to work, he feels like a special attraction, he feels like must-watch television, and his matches usually do deliver from an in-ring perspective and from a storyline narrative as well.
Facts.
However, when you don't show up to work, when you only appear once in a blue moon, it's hard to really give you a strong grade, so my man Roman Reigns doesn't get out of here with more than a.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Gunther, the ring general, who also spent the entirety of 2023
Okay.
as the...
Gunther, I fuck with Gunther, right? I'm gonna give him an A because he gives high quality matches. He don't miss. Bro, the ring general, he's him. I'm gonna give him an A.
Intercontinental champion. However, unlike Roman Reigns, he was a full-time performer, defending this championship across house shows and across episodes.
He don't care.
Raw, PLEs like WrestleMania, SummerSlam. He would have fantastic matches like the triple threat at WrestleMania. Feuds.
The triple threat match cooked.
With Drew McIntyre,
Chad Gable too.
With Chad Gable, The Miz, and all of them, he looked like
He
a
delivered.
dominant champion and always put on a match of the night, sometimes match of the year contender. Gunther is getting an A+. Next up, we have Austin Theory, who I think started the year as a really strong United States.
I like that his run. I ain't gonna lie. I'm gonna give him a B though because like I don't know. It's somebody. I wasn't getting well with. It's either A or B. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't got nothing bad to say about it. I ain't gonna lie.
Champion, defending the United States Championship in the fantastic men's Elimination Chamber match, and even carrying that momentum into a massive marquee United States Championship match and feud against John Cena at WrestleMania, a match that, in my opinion, significantly fell flat and did nothing for Austin.
Yeah,
but then he would defend
that John Cena match. After that, it just fell off for him. It did not benefit nothing. It was garbage.
Bobby Lashley, Bronson Reed, and he would hold this championship for quite a while until he would eventually kind of unceremoniously lose it to Rey Mysterio once his championship allure started to wind down. However, I think he had a strong year as a United States champion, even if the latter half of it started to feel a little bit weak. I'm going to be giving Austin Theory a B+. Next up, we have Bianca Belair, who held the Raw Women's Championship, but also held the WWE Women's Championship as well. They are the same championship, but they look different.
Get her a
They
B.
have the same lineage, Anyways, it's a whole thing. Bianca Belair started off the year strong by beating the likes of Alexa Bliss, Asuka at WrestleMania. She would lose the title to Asuka, but continued to stay in that title picture for a long time.
I
Even
think she
winning
still
it at
is.
SummerSlam and then immediately losing it to Io Sky. So the way that Bianca's year went, I think, was really successful in terms of helping like her own brand and building her up as one of the titans of the industry. But I also really appreciate the fact that she was the one that was used to help elevate Io Sky with her cash in, because I think it really helps justify Io Sky as a main event player. I'm gonna give Bianca Belair a B+ this year. Next up, we have Charlotte, who she didn't really
Yo, that my little cousin phone fam. She left her phone in my room. Yo, that shit funny as hell.
Bianca Belair a B+ this year. Next up, we have Charlotte, who she didn't really do
Yeah,
a
C.
whole lot
Give
as
her
a
a C.
champion. In fact, I almost gave her a C in this category. However, the fact that she had such an amazing match for the SmackDown Women's Championship with Rhea Ripley really salvaged this. So Charlotte's going to be getting away with a B. Next up, we have the Usos, who didn't have too many matches in the early portions of the year as Undisputed Tag
But
Champions,
they did.
But they were part of the most important and the most significant
Bloodline
in WWE history, the Bloodline storyline, and they did have that remarkable Night 1 main event with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. So even though they didn't have too many matches, they were represented as very strong, generational champions, and I think to me that goes a very, very long way. I'm going to be giving them an A+.
Yeah, I agree.
Next up, we have Damage Control, who just were not treated as champions.
The title reigns, I'm going to give it a C.
Future Hall of Famer and one of the Four Horsemen in Bayley. It didn't matter that they had tag team champions in Io Sky and Dakota Kai, because they were just fodder for everyone that went up against them. It was a shame that they were treated so poorly whenever they were
C+ or B.
They're going to get a C.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Braun Breaker. It's kind of difficult to rate.
Oh, I forgot he was the NXT. I forgot he was the NXT champion. I ain't gonna lie, I did not watch NXT at this time. I was watching NXT. I ain't gonna lie, I started when Undisputed Era, and fucking who was Johnny Gargano. That's when I started getting into it. But I used to watch it before that. But now I start watching Carmelo Hayes, Trick Williams, all of them.
That went through the majority of 2023.
But I never watched his title run.
Of 2023 where he would eventually lose it. I feel like he did a good job in the early portions of
It's Tommaso Ciampa
as a champion, facing Grayson Waller, and eventually doing the job for Carmelo Hayes in a fantastic match at Stand and Deliver. So I'm going to be giving Braun Breaker a B+, even though he wasn't champion for a heck of a lot of time in 2023. It's kind of a similar story with Roxy.
Oh yeah, I don't know nothing about this, so I can't really say nothing.
As great a matches as Braun Breaker did in the early portions of 2023 when she was champion. I think the best match of her reign was the ladder match, but that included like 7 different other women where she really wasn't a big focal point. So I'm going to be giving Roxanne Perez's reign a B. Next up, we have Wes Lee, who in my opinion is currently the greatest North American champion of all time. And in 2023,
get out, but he the man, that nigga right there, it's him. He cooked.
He really cemented that by putting on not just match of the night candidates, but also match of the year candidates. Shout out to the standout Wes Lee versus Dijak, but there was also a great fatal 5-way for the North American title at Stand and Deliver, and he had a great feud with Dominic Mysterio for the championship where he would eventually lose it. This was a great breakout year for Wes Lee. He was a great in-ring performer, but also became a very endearing character as champion. He's going to get an A+. Hey folks, no sponsor today, but this video is brought to you by patreon.com/Santis and more. Video. Next up, we have the New Day, which you might have forgotten was
Angle. I forgot all about that.
And I wouldn't blame you, because they were really just fodder transitional champions. It was cool that they were champions because they get to add to their legacy, but they just kind of held it warm until they would eventually lose it to Gallus. So I'm going to be giving them a C. Katana Chance and Kaden Carter actually
nothing about this one.
Championship reigns in this list. They have both the NXT tag title reigns and the current WWE Women's
congratulations to them.
That one's hard to rate because they literally just won it on the most recent episode of Raw, so they haven't really had a reign to be able to rate. However, I can rate this NXT Tag Championship reign. It wasn't very good. It wasn't glamorous. There weren't any marquee matches that will stand out to you, and I feel like this was the start of the death of the women's tag division, which is why ultimately they dissolved these championships. However, at the very least, they are a proper tag team, and they felt like a proper tag team when they were champions. I'll give them a B here. Fallon Henley and Kiana James were literally...
Again, I don't know nothing about the NXT women.
Championship reign was really just to set up a feud and a heel turn between
I
us
watched
two,
NXT
so
Women
it didn't really
since
do
Shayna
anything
Baszler
to
was there.
move the needle for this division. It gets a D. Becky Lynch and Lita, in my opinion, as tag champions, were just a nostalgia act to get us excited over the fact that Lita is back and is teaming up with one of the
That shit was mid as hell.
street today in Becky Lynch. But ultimately, this title reign left a lot to be desired. They didn't really have any marquee defenses, and really, this championship reign was ultimately just to set up a Trish Stratus heel turn and to make it, I guess, mean a little bit more, with Trish Stratus taking out Lita before a championship defense and taking her spot and then losing the match for Becky and Trish, losing the titles, and then the heel turn. It really, like, the titles were just like an auxiliary piece to try and set up something else, so they didn't really do it for me. They get a C.
We're gonna see a lot of women's tag team matches in there. I mean, tag team titles in here. I ain't gonna lie. They've been passed around more than a blunt, bro. And these two people right here, I don't know nothing about them right here.
With a rating, however, they just didn't get to hold these championships as long as I would have liked them to see them hold it. They would eventually lose this to the family, whereas the Gabagool. But at the time that we did have them as champions, they look dominant, they look scary, they had some pretty fun defenses, but more than anything, I feel like they were treated as strong champions in the short amount of time that they were champions. So even though it wasn't a long reign, they're getting away with a B. Next up, we have Indy Hartwell, which to no fault of her own was barely a champion, even though she won this fantastic ladder match to win the women's championship, because it was in that very same ladder match where she would snap her ankle, she would be forced to not be able to defend the title and then also relinquish it, and then immediately got brought up to Raw, so she wasn't able to go back after the title properly. So to no fault of her own, she gets an F. The Witches at one point were the NXT tag champions, and I
seen them on SmackDown. I like them, bro. They real cool. I ain't gonna lie. I like them, bro. They fire.
They go down in history as the last ever NXT tag champions as well, before the tag titles were unified. But they didn't really get a chance to be champions before they got called up, and eventually losing the titles pretty much instantly upon call up to Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler. So they did nothing as champions. D. Carmelo Hayes had a breakout year.
Oh shit.
NXT basically had a
Oh yeah, everybody was talking about this one. I give him an A.
As champion was the flag bearer for this rejuvenation of NXT. He had a great year as champion.
I give Carmelo Hayes an A.
The likes of Ilya Dragunov, Braun Breaker.
Dragunov be cooking too.
Kept coming after this championship, and he took an all.
Sorry if I hit the mic. I'm trying to move around so I could find it where it's comfortable at.
Gets an A+. Rhea Ripley, I think if somebody else was making this
or
list,
B.
might get an A+, even, because she really was a dominant champion. However,
but she ain't get no comp though, so I might probably give her a B-. She ain't have no competition. All the people she faced was weak.
In my opinion, the Rolodex of women that she faced just were never credible enough for me to be excited during her matches, because I never once believed that her title reign was ever in any sort of danger. And that's because they kept her away from the titans of the industry like the Charlottes, Biancas, the Becky Lynches of the world, and instead had her face women that are very, very great professional wrestlers. However, they just don't have that same level of main event aura that some of these other titans do, which made it so that the Rhea Ripley matches never felt like it was going to end any other way aside from Rhea Ripley continuing to be champion. So I'm going to give this a B+. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn were a great fairy tale. They became WWE Undisputed Tag Champions in the main event of WrestleMania, and my favorite match of the entire year. They would go on to have a fantastic title defense against Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa at Night of Champions. However, Kevin Owens would get hurt. And yet somehow I feel like this didn't damage their championship reign a heck of a whole lot, because Sami Zayn was still there, still representing as a one half of the champions, carrying the belts and being a workhorse every single week. And they did lose the championships eventually in a fantastic near 5-star match against Judgment Day in the Steel City Street Fight. So the matches that they were able to have when Kevin Owens was there were fantastic, and they were also part of the biggest storyline in WWE history, the Bloodline storyline. They're going to get an A. Next up, we have Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan, who had 2 championship reigns.
I like them together.
Champions in 2023. Neither one of the reigns was like particularly amazing. However, I think they did a very serviceable successful job as champions. They always looked very good in the ring. They always had decent enough matches, and they slowly became more of a tag team, even like wearing similar gear as opposed to just feeling like two random ass women being put together to be a tag team, which I feel is like the formula of the women's tag division. So I'm gonna give their 2 reigns a B. Seth freaking Rollins was
A plus. Every time Seth Rollins defend his title, it's comp. Finn Balor. Who else he faced? Did he face Kevin Owens? Nah, I don't think so. But Sami Zayn. That's when Sami Zayn was on fire. Drew McIntyre. Comp. Who else? Finn Balor. Comp. Who else? Who else he faced? I know it's Shinsuke Nakamura. Comp. Who else? Who else? He faced a lot of people. Yeah, he did face a lot of people. And he defended it every time. So, and AJ Styles when he first won it, that's comp.
In 2023, defending the World Heavyweight Champion against some heavy hitters throughout the year, like Drew McIntyre, like Nakamura, like Finn Balor, even going down to NXT and defending against Braun Breaker. All comers would eventually bow down to Seth Rollins. And even though I always rooted against Seth Rollins because I feel like the heels that he was facing always had a better story and a better character and a better narrative, doesn't change the fact that he was a fighting champion and was there week in and week out, not just in matches, but representing as the champion on every episode of Monday Night.
And he beating them niggas with the injured spine. Come on now, he's him. That's an A plus.
Raw, A plus for Seth Rollins. Next up, we have Asuka, who had a pretty decent year as champion, being the inaugural WWE Women's Champion after transitioning the Raw Women's Championship into what I think is a much prettier gold title.
Yeah.
She would beat Bianca Belair for the championship. She would help put over the likes of Io Sky. She would have feuds with the likes of Charlotte as well. So she went up against some heavy hitters, and I really feel like she carried this championship very, very well for herself. She's gonna get a B plus. Next up, we have Tiffany
I don't know
Stratton,
about
who
this.
had a breakout year in NXT, and in my opinion was one of the best kept secrets that the WWE had. That is no longer a best kept secret because now the entire world knows just how amazing she is. She won the NXT Women's Championship in a great match against Lyra Valkyria for the vacant championship. She would defend against Thea Hale and would have a great sequence of matches with Becky Lynch. A sequence of matches that, in my opinion, really made a superstar out of Tiffany Stratton. So Tiffany Stratton, as a champion, I will say this. I feel like she was elevated by the championship, and the championship elevated her. A minus. Next up, we have Shayna Baszler versus Ronda Rousey, who for some reason were made
Mid.
WWE
Mid as hell.
champions. They did nothing with this D. This is a weird one. Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. However, they weren't even the ones that won the championship because it was Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville. So this is really the Chelsea Green championship.
Oh, what they gave the previous one? What he gave the previous one? F, right?
Nothing with this D. This is a weird one.
I would have gave him an F.
Piper Niven. However, they weren't even the ones that won the championship because
A
it was
D
Chelsea
too.
Green and Sonya Deville. So this is really the Chelsea Green championship reign is what we're gonna really categorize this as. I will say they were never really treated as like top tier champions. More often than not, they were fed to some of the bigger superstars. However, when it came time to win, they won in very convincing ways. And on top of that, I really feel like they helped elevate the titles with their fantastic character work, especially Chelsea Green with her backstage segments with the likes of Adam Pearce. This was a great year for Chelsea Green, and I think this fantastic
C minus
reign
or
as
D?
women's tag champion is going to lead to something even bigger in 2024. She gets an A minus.
Whoa. 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 Now that was crazy, my nigga. That was crazy. A minus? Whoa. That's crazy now.
Who was a phenomenal North American
Yeah.
champion in 2023, winning the championship
I'm gonna give him an A minus.
twice, winning it off of Trick Williams after Trick Williams cheated to beat him at No Mercy. Okay, all right, let's tone down the Dom syndrome here. But in all jokes aside, Dominic Mysterio was a fighting champion, defending not just on NXT, but in PLEs and even on Monday Night Raw, and would have fantastic matches, not just with Trick Williams, but Wes Lee,
And Dragon Lee.
and Nathan Frazier, and others as well. So Dominic Mysterio had a great year as North American champion. He gets an A+. Next up, we have the family. Hey, where's the Gabagool? What a weird time as champions.
I don't know them.
Two-time NXT champions this year, but it just kind of felt like this weird stop between the two reigns, they should have just been one-time NXT champions, because they would just like randomly lose at Halloween Havoc to Chase U. I still don't really understand why. But in their time as champions, they were a tremendous amount of fun, defending against massive comers like the likes of Los Lotharios, like Gallus, and of course Chase U. So they were fighting champions, and they delivered every time that they were on screen as well as characters. They're going to be getting a B+. Next up, we had Io Sky, who had a phenomenal year this year, a year that reminded everyone why everyone in NXT Black and
Io Sky was
Io Sky was one of the best workers in the entire planet. She won this championship by cashing in her Money in the Bank briefcase in a match with titans of the industry like Bianca Belair, Asuka, and Charlotte, and she would defend the championship against those very same titans in matches that everyone would routinely believe that she was going to lose against Charlotte, Asuka, and Bianca Belair.
Even
and
Bayley.
She's still champion, and as of right now, I see no end in sight to her reign. She gets an A.
I'm tripping. What? I'm tripping. That's the Money Bank.
Champion. In my opinion, this is a scenario where
D.
Ray didn't really do anything
COD.
for the United States Championship, and the United States Championship didn't really do anything for Ray. So he gets out of here with a C. The Judgment Day were fantastic tag champions, being the one.
Yeah, I'm gonna give them an A- or a B+.
Tag champions, and in their time as champions, they would have some fantastic matches with the likes of the New Day, the Creed brothers, the main event nightmare, Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. So they have this fantastic Rolodex of great matches. And as much as I didn't love them being champions, because I just feel like it should have been in the tag team division, and they rarely defended in the tag team division, I can't look away from the fact that they just had a great sequence of matches that really help elevate this reign. They're going to get an A. Becky Lynch had a phenomenal side quest this year.
Facts.
The NXT Women's Champion, even though she should have been going after Rhea Ripley all year. But
yeah.
Anyways, I digress. But in her time as NXT Women's Champion, she defended this championship against numerous people that ended up getting plenty of screen time. Enough screen time where they would impress the higher-ups and become permanent fixtures of Monday Night Raw. People like Xia Li, people like Indy Hartwell, people like Tegan Nox, and of course people in NXT like Tiffany Stratton, and eventually losing to Lyra Valkyria. So she took on all comers, whether it was on NXT, Monday Night Raw, PLEs. She was a great women's NXT champion. She gets an A. Trick Williams held this thing for 3
Bro, they did him so dirty.
Ilya Dragunov would probably be higher on this list had he been champion for longer, but he hasn't really had.
He put on the match though. My fault.
Yeah, his match to win
he put on a good match though. He could.
Brilliant and fantastic, and the follow-up was also great. The story with Baron Corbin was fantastic, even if the match wasn't particularly amazing. But there's still a lot left to Ilya Dragunov's reign, so I'm not going to go higher than a B+, but had more time to gestate, maybe an extra month or two, we could be looking in the A's. Next up, we have the main event nightmare, Cody Rhodes, Jey Uso, who were really just transitional champions. However, in their short time as champions, they had some really fun matches against the Judgment Day, both the match where they won and the match where they lost. And on top of that, they had a fantastic, all-timer, incredibly memorable press conference that we will be quoting until the end of the year. Do you feel him, sir? They get a B. Chase U, the most random-ass champions of this entire list. They somehow beat the family in a roll-up.
I don't really know.
Havoc, and then would lose
I know who they is, but I don't know.
The next episode of NXT, they get a D. We have Lyra Valkyria, who
also
hasn't really held a championship long enough or had enough championship defenses to really be able to grade her. However, she did have a fantastic match to beat Becky Lynch, so that goes a long way for me. But there's still just so much more to build on when it comes to this championship reign, so she's going to be getting a B. Logan Paul should frankly be an F because he's won this championship and hasn't been with it or barely even appeared on television with it. However, he gets some extra bonus points because he does take this championship with him everywhere that he goes, and he posts it on social media, whether it's press conferences for Jake Paul's fights, the Impulsive podcast, whatever YouTube videos or Instagram reels.
Oh yeah, I already see I already see that.
Which I think really helps, help break into,
help boost up the WWE company.
That newer generation of wrestling fans. So I'm going to be giving him a C, even though it probably should be an F. Dragon Lee is off to a phenomenal start as North American champion, defending this championship.
I can't say nothing about him.
Ever since he's become champion, so I could see this being one of those legendary runs where he goes on like a nasty, crazy streak of defending this thing. So even though he hasn't been able to really demonstrate his championship reign in like a really big, meaty feud, I will say he's had some fantastic one-off matches that have really won me over. So I'm gonna give him a B plus. All right, that's it. Those are my grades. Let me know where I went wrong. I'm done. Get out of here.
I think he went wrong. What's the part? I forgot. But he with Chelsea Green at 8 is crazy. I ain't gonna lie. That threw me off. But hey, that'll be it, I guess. I'm adding more people to the wrestling group chat. So if you wanna join, drop your Instagram in the comments, and I got you, bro. But make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, and share if you new.